What is up, everyone? Almac here again from CombatOdds.ca for a special edition of OddsJam. We already did the video for UFC Vegas 35. Check that out. But we're moving from the cage to the boxing ring. We're looking at Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley using the OddsJam tool. OddsJam, sweet sports betting tool you can use to find the best odds for sports books in your region, set up middles or arbitrage spots, as well as track your bets and even track the current odds for sporting events, not just combat sports, but all sports, NBA, NFL, NHL, all that. They just added MMA promotions such as PFL and Bellator, as well as boxing. So let's get into it. We're going to break down the odds for the big fight coming up this weekend between YouTuber turned pro boxer Jake Paul as he takes on the former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley in an 8-round boxing match at 190 pounds. So we got a 6-fight card here. From a betting perspective, the main event is one of the only really fights that has intrigue as far as a betting perspective goes. The co-main event sees Amanda Seriano come in as a minus 2,000 favorite, so I'm kind of out of that one. However, there is an interesting feature bout. Ivan Baranchyk taking on Montana Love. Baranchyk coming in as a minus 220 favorite. So that fight, it does have some bettable odds. All right. But let's dive into the main event here. Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul. We got Jake Paul coming in as the minus 190 betting favorite. Tyron Woodley plus 160 at Caesars and William Hill. Jake Paul opening as a minus 130 favorite, has since begun to take a ton of money, may close north of that minus 200 range. Meanwhile, you look at Tyron Woodley plus 160 as an underdog. He's only been an underdog 6 times in his UFC career as in the UFC cage. So he's got a 3-2 record in the UFC as a betting underdog. So this is a guy who has exceeded the expectations more times than not when it comes to the odds makers. So, it's just something to consider. You look at the betting total. Fanduel has it right down the middle now, minus 112 on both sides. Kind of a steep vig, but we'll take it, I guess. The line set at 3.5 rounds. It is an 8-round fight, so we have to make it to the 130 mark of the 4th round to cash an over 3.5 round ticket here. I gotta say, I actually do like the over in this fight. Well, obviously, Jake Paul, he's gone 3-0 as a pro, and I say that in quotations. All 3 wins coming by way of knockout. All 3 wins going under the betting total. But again, you're talking about an undersized YouTuber that was coming off a harsh weight cut. You're talking about an NBA player that clearly didn't have any boxing skills. And you're talking about a retired MMA fighter who was a bad striker to begin with and was coming off a career-ending hip surgery. So those are his 3 wins. On the other side, we're talking about Tyron Woodley, albeit, 4-1 in his last 9 in the UFC, but 6 of his 9 were UFC title fights. 6 of those 9 that I just mentioned were UFC title fights. So this is a guy 3 fights removed from holding a UFC championship. Okay. Is he the same fighter that he once was? Absolutely not. And obviously, MMA isn't boxing and boxing isn't MMA. So the skills don't translate with ease exactly. But I do still think that Woodley has what it takes to make this fight competitive. And everybody thinks this fight's going to end early. But honestly, I feel like there's a good chance that we see this go into the later rounds. Woodley has gone the distance in 5 of his last 9 fights. The over has gone 5-4 for about a unit profit in that stretch. So we're talking about like an average of minus 180 on the over normally in those last 9 fights for him. And the bookmakers don't really expect this one to go the distance because over 3.5 rounds is sitting at minus 112. And I know that fight goes the distance is sitting at like 6-1. So I think that there's some value on the over here. Now, if you want to get fancy, there's probably a path to set up a decent middle here if you want to come at this fight from both sides. Let's take a look here. Go to the betting tools, click on arbitrage calculator. Now, this isn't an arbitrage, but we're using the arbitrage tool to set up a middle here So be wary of I've cautioned about this before. I've cashed doing it as well. So of course, it's buyer beware. Anything can happen in a fist fight. Um, oh yeah, go to the calculator, arbitrage calculator. Um, so obviously, yeah, the most likely path to victory in this fight for Jake Paul is to get the knockout early. We got the to win by knockout line between minus 130 and minus 110. We'll say minus 110, for example. Um, and then we got Woodley on the money line as high as plus 175 at some offshores. So we'll use that plus 175 on the money line. Again, Woodley, I think, has more of a chance to go to decision. This is a guy who went the 25-minute distance with the current UFC champion, Kamaru Usman, current UFC welterweight champion, Kamaru Usman. The distance here, you know, 8 3-minute rounds is 24 minutes. I think that's definitely in the realm of possibilities. I don't know if Jake Paul can go the distance here. And I'm not saying that I doubt it. I'm just saying I don't know. There's nothing I've seen that, there's no evidence that shows that he has the capabilities of going 24 minutes in a professional combat sports fight. So I know Woodley has also had issues himself gassing before, but this is boxing. He might be able to conserve his energy a little bit more by standing against the ropes on his back foot and kind of just fend off Paul with his power. I can see him eating up some rounds by doing that, trying to get the knockout that way too. I can also see this turning into a bit of a clinch fest down the stretch. So honestly, Woodley by decision, I can envision it. Jake Paul by decision, I just don't see it. I'm not saying that I doubt it. I just can't envision it. So we do got a bit of a middle here. You can get 11.25%. You put $1,000, you put $100, you put $10, but the difference is 11.25% profit between Jake Paul by knockout or Woodley on the money line. As long as Jake Paul doesn't get the decision win, you're making money either way. Beyond that, I think the bet in this fight as it stands right now is just Tyron Woodley outright. So yeah, that's what I think. I've cautioned against doing this before, but again, this is one of those fights where I just really don't see Jake Paul being able to go the full distance. And I know a lot of people are going to say, it's kind of silly to assume that Tyron Woodley can go the distance, but Tyron Woodley is a professional athlete, right? And he's definitely not the same fighter that he used to be, but we're talking about Jake Paul, who probably has a few good rounds in him, but beyond that, I don't know. I think he's going to be in some trouble if he goes late with Tyron Woodley. So yeah, if you like what you see here with OddsJam, click the link in the description, sign up today, get your free trial, get the best odds in your region, use all the best tools to guarantee yourself profits like I just showed here. Now, it's not just for combat sports. It's for all sports. They got NBA, NHL, NFL, college football. They got it all. So again, sign up for your 7-day free trial. The link is in the description. My name is Al Mack, CombatOdds.ca. Enjoy the fights. I will talk to you later.